All right, y'all. It's time to turn those notifications back on. It's ULG De La Bray.
ULGK.
And ULGJ. And welcome back to the group chat.
Last week was a struggle. This week was like 0.5 less of a struggle. Still a struggle, but not as bad. What did I do this weekend? I went to a barbecue, like a poolside barbecue with adults. I've done that before, so that was cool. We played games, board games, drank a little bit, smoked a little bit, adult shit.
Was this for a particular occasion or just because it was a Saturday?
A guy I'm dating invited me to a cookout that he was throwing for, he just got a new place and kind of finally got it all set up and stuff. So he was inviting people over, but he don't really talk to people. So he invited 5 people and then told them they can invite somebody. So it ended up being roughly about 15-ish people.
That's perfect.
Yeah. It was interesting to say the least. At least my best friend and his wife was there, so I wasn't feeling too awkward. And I volunteered to help set up, so it wasn't like I was walking into anything crazy. Yeah. So there's that. I think I had a photo shoot. I can't even remember what the damn photo shoot was, but yeah, Scratch, you just surviving like Kay was last week.
Amen.
So yeah, that's pretty much my update for the week.
Since last week, I feel like I've been to the movies what feels like 20 times. But I think I went maybe 4 or 5. I went a lot.
What did you go see?
The Devil Wears Prada 2. I saw Michael again. What else did I see? It must not have been that good because I saw something random, but I feel like I did that a lot, per usual.
Did you like Devil Wears Prada 2?
The first time I saw it, because I saw it twice, some elements of the first one were there that I really liked. But then the second time I saw it, I was with a bunch of my family. We had the whole row. And I don't know, I guess I enjoyed it more because I was with them and we all watch movies the same way and comment on things the same way. And then at the end we had a little fashion show runway kind of thing, just dancing to the music. So it was cute. But yeah, I don't know if it has as much replay value as the first one. And the main thing I was disappointed in was the love interest, because I'm just I feel in the first one everybody was fine. Even if no, it wasn't your type, you couldn't deny that. It's oh, that's a really hot man. This one, I was just is that her? Who is that? It just, I don't know. I feel they forced a love interest because they felt it checked off a box. But other than that,
without spoiling it, is the second movie about Anne Hathaway's character still, or is it about someone new?
It's about her.
Oh,
and how characters relink up and then they work on a task together. But it incorporates I don't know, it's there's a lot of signs of the times in the movie.
I never really paid attention. Well, I mean, I seen the trailer, but I didn't understand what the actual plot was. It was just kind of more so ooh, Devil Wears Prada is coming out again. I do need to go rewatch the first one before I go see the second one.
I went to go see the Devil Wears Prada 2 also, since we're focusing on grammar here in the ULG verse. And yeah, it was okay. I think I do need to go see it a second time to maybe enjoy it, because I think I had so much anticipation, and excitement because of the Devil Wears Prada. But when I saw it, I don't know what I was expecting, but I just kept hoping for us to get there. And I was okay, is this it? And I feel the ending, I don't know, Kayla, if you felt like you predicted what happened at the end, but I was oh, I know what's going to happen. But it was cool. And then after that movie, actually, I was on my way home and I went to, because y'all know I have this little undercut that I no longer have services for to cut it in-house. So I've been trying to find a barbershop in Austin to go to. Honestly, take me back to the mall in Arizona, because that guy did a wonderful job and I should have had him take a picture of it. But I also think this barbershop I went to, it was a Cuban barbershop. And there was definitely a language barrier. So the guy in Arizona told me to tell the next guy a natural taper. Girl, he pulled out his phone to Google Translate and all that, and he still didn't understand the translation. So he cut it, but it hurt, first of all. And
Hold on. Why?
he was just really rough. And I have a lot of bumps back here too. I haven't taken a mirror to look at what it's like, but he gave it to me for free. So I was like, well,
Because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He
Mm-mm.
said, "Oh, this is not gonna go well."
and I don't know why he just didn't
Plus,
say
it's
that.
like a little patch. It's like a little patch in here too. So like,
I don't know why it was so complicated, but yeah. So, jury's still out on a barber here in Austin. We'll figure it out eventually. Yeah.
well, let's go ahead and go down Lover's Lane. I thought it would be a good idea for us to talk about communication as a whole, because I know we didn't really dive into that when we were talking about our non-negotiables, but it is something that is obviously very pertinent to any kind of relationship. So I just feel like a lot of communication problems start as a personal thing before it turns into like an interpersonal thing. Speaking for myself, over the years, I've had to learn how to express how I'm feeling without it coming out crazy or without me like holding it in until a point to where I feel like I'm going to burst. So, I think it's a very healthy thing to express to people how you feel when you don't like something, when you do like something. I came across this TikTok recently, and this guy was basically saying, like, it's not toxic to tell someone that you don't like something. That's actually healthy communication because how is someone supposed to know that you don't like something if you don't tell them? I'd rather deal with the you're always saying this, you're always saying that than not getting it out. Because I feel like that just stresses me out, keeping all that shit like bottled in for real, for real. And I would also want someone to tell me stuff.
I like the way you said that communication starts with self, which I think anything when it comes to relationships starts with yourself. And for me, I'm a verbal processor. I want to talk through things, not for us to necessarily end up on the exact same page in 100% agreement with one another, but I want to feel like you hear me, like I'm getting it all out. And if you still don't agree with whatever we're talking about, that's cool. At least I feel heard. But with some people, you can't even get there in a relationship, regardless, platonic, romantic, whatever the case may be. And that's frustrating.
So the same way, 'cause I've had so many people always saying that I'm mean, I'm mean, I'm mean. But back when I was doing shit where I didn't feel like I was being mean, niggas acted like they had some fucking sense. So now at this point, I'm like, well, I was trying to be healed. I was trying to use all these therapy techniques and shit. But like, yeah, when I start being mean to people, then they get their act together. So it's like y'all only want to actually listen when I got a little oomph in my voice, because I guess people just see us as like little tiny little women and we're so soft and these little soft voices, and it's like, why do I have to get crunk with you for you to actually listen to what the fuck I got to say?
Yeah, I feel like anytime people think that you're not being agreeable, then it's a problem. Then you're being a bitch. And then, insert whatever adjective about women, Or like back to what you said at the beginning, especially when it comes to men. If I'm asking you questions, it's not because I'm trying to challenge you. It's not because I'm necessarily in disagreement. Again, as women who are verbal processors, we're just trying to understand, how did you get to where we're at in this point of the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
But what's wrong with the challenge? We're adults. We're not supposed to just have these simple ass, do you like yellow? Is the sky blue ass fucking conversations. Like I saw a TikTok and the guy was saying like people, like you said, with emotional maturity know that having a conversation is not an argument, it's a chance to understand. And I was like, thank you.
Right. And just because you don't agree on certain things, it doesn't mean that you're not aligned. Like Jamaican example, his whole thing was like, oh, you always, because I would ask questions. And like the last time we argued before I blocked him, I was like, no, he was like, you always want to know everything. And I was like, you take me asking you questions as a sign of like a lack of trust or something like that. But I was like, you don't understand. I've had to be inquisitive for like the sake of my own personal development, my survival. Like I've had to look out for myself for a really long time. So, and I'm not even asking like, well, why the hell you doing this? Like, it's not even, there's no malice. I'm just like, well, you're doing this. Okay. Why? You want me to do this? Like, just even verifying details. He thinks that he's being questioned. And I'm like, okay, like, damn, you're not used to a woman asking you anything. Like I can't fuck with that. So,
And I think that goes back to like communication having, or healthy communication having not been modeled for them. And I think too, for a lot of Black men specifically, they have been exposed to a generation of men who were like, well, why? And you do it because I said so. Or it's that way because I said it is, with no explanation. So now their nervous systems have been wired to think that that's normal. So then when someone tries to come in and just ask, it looks rainy outside today. Well, do you think that the sun might come out again? And then you're like, well, why are you asking me that? Well, nigga, I'm just trying to have a conversation. That's all.
Were you there when we talked? Because that's exactly how it would go. My God. And then he tried to equate it. He was like, well, you don't leave room for surprises. And I was like, that's not the same thing. Like, you can fully surprise me. You know what I like. You know what I don't like. Stop trying to equate my communication style with the way you show up for me as a man. Like, stop doing that. Niggas will find anything. Lovers and friends. They will. And then that's when they get the attitude. Because I'm just like, all right, you're trying to be fucking funny.
One of the things that I think is so important, something that, like, when I reflect on past relationships and thinking about people's communication styles, is like not even necessarily just how they communicated with me, but how they communicated with other people, especially when other people had an opposing opinion, and just listening and observing the way that they would interact in those situations. And I'd be like, ooh, why are we getting so hot or heated, or why are we getting so upset just because somebody else has a different opinion than you?
People are trying to change people's perspectives. It's like we can have conversations without having to change how someone else feels. Like, just explain how you feel, they explain how they feel. If y'all still don't agree to disagree and move on. Half the stuff people be arguing about ain't even that fucking serious. Like, why are we arguing over if the toilet paper should be at the top or the bottom when you put it on the roll? Like, that's not something to get heated over. Just fucking pick one and go on.
The top.
Same.
I'm dead. But they'll sit there and argue and argue and argue. I'm like, okay, we get it. You don't like the fucking under fucking toilet paper. Like, okay, can we go have dinner now?
And that makes me wonder, do men think that having a conversation is an argument?
Yes.
Most of them.
Yeah, they do, because they still have this archaic ass, like, whatever I say goes, or like, I'm the man, therefore, like, I don't know. A lot of men still think that their opinions are correct. They think that their mindsets are correct. And I'm like, honey, they're not. And I think women have been vindicated enough times to prove that, like, why would I listen to you? You don't know how you fuck your life up. You fuck other people's lives up. So in this case, like, what I'm saying is actually right. And men can't grasp that yet still.
It'll go a lot further when they realize the difference between a fact and an opinion or a feeling. Just because you feel something or that's your opinion doesn't make it a fact. So when I bring up this Googleable fact and tell you this is what this is, it's not because I'm trying to argue or tell you it's because I'm right. It's because it's a fact, my nigga. Like, it is what it is. It ain't what it ain't.
And there's so much ego in men having a conversation, because it's like, yeah, if I'm bringing to you a fact to combat your quote unquote opinion, but here's the evidence that shows that your opinion is wrong because this is the fact, all they're hearing is, oh, I'm wrong. Instead of, oh, she helped me find the right answer. So I don't go out here and be looking stupid when I have this conversation with the next person.
Thank you. Because if you're my man and you have a wrong opinion or fact about something, I am going to try to argue you down until I can, like, we see eye to eye on it. Because I'm like, you're not about to embarrass me. And it's something like, oh, well, R. Kelly, no, you're not.
If I go out here talking about how LeBron can't fucking play basketball and he sucks at this and sucks at that, you're going to have so much shit to say, so many stats to pull up and all this fucking bullshit. Like, what are we talking about?
I saw this video where this guy was saying that truly masculine men don't argue because they understand that a woman flows like a river. And so it may not always flow in a straight path. The man who is truly masculine is supposed to be like a mountain, and not in terms of like stubbornness, but you're supposed to be so grounded that, like, regardless of whatever type of conversation we're having, obviously within reason, by the end of the conversation, we're aligned. Does not necessarily mean that we are in agreement with each other, but we are aligned. The conversation is cool, calm, and collected. And at the end, we're able to move on. I don't know where they're
I'm not trying to argue either. You think I want to argue? Yes, I don't have time. And I'm not trying to, every time we have something to talk about, it end in an argument either. That's irritating and draining.
Okay. So my dad, y'all know my dad, he's Rolling Stone. He told me that give it 6 months. In 6 months, you will have had, or by the end of 6 months, you will have had your first argument. If you reflect back on your relationships, do you feel like that was true? Now, it could have happened before the 6 months, but definitely by 6 months, you would have had your first argument. That felt like a quote unquote argument.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And he's, and
I
I
was
just like,
arguing before I even got in a damn relationship. That
Hello.
should have been a sign. Shit.
that's a red flag.
Yeah, it is.
When I think back to my last relationship, we got into an argument. It was probably about 5 months in, and he broke up with me.
Wow.
That should have been a sign.
Now that you say that, it's like all the
Mhm.
realization. It's not a lot, but they flash it back to me. I'm like, oh, yeah.
It's sometimes like tricky too, because like for me in my first relationship, we argued really, really badly. But like eventually he would always come around to a place of like, oh, I shouldn't have yelled at you, or I shouldn't have done this or said that. And like now I see where you were coming from. Like he would always like we wouldn't just argue just to argue. He would always reflect on what I said and he would receive it. So like we never ever really argued about like the same things because we would always reach some kind of an understanding. But like I feel like as a man, he was willing to like listen to what I was saying. It would take him maybe 3 days. But that was okay. But then, or even if like we didn't agree, but we had kind of calmed down at that point, and like, we were able to just like revisit the conversation like more level-headed. So, like, I don't know, I feel like that was so necessary. It just got to a point where it's like, okay, well, we should be able to do this. Like, since we always reach this, like, this flow state of being able to, like, come to some sort of an agreement or understanding, we shouldn't be arguing to get in and then going 3 days, like, walking on eggshells every single time. So, like,
Arguing is a part of every relationship, right? So it's like, do you go into a relationship and ask, like, what are your expectations for conflict resolution?
Mm.
And because I love that you said that he was able to, like, even if it took a few days. So it's like, well, you know what? Maybe this argument, it took us 3 days to get back to our flow state. So maybe the goal for the next time we have an argument, it only takes us 2 days to get back to our flow state. And then from there, it only takes us one day to get back to our flow state. And then from there, it takes us a few hours to get back to our flow state. And I love that. I think that's beautiful. And I don't think that's something that a lot of men are capable of doing because they don't have the skill. Not because they can't, but because they don't have the skill to.
Correct.
Yeah. How do y'all feel about that saying, like,
Yeah.
don't go to bed
Angry? No, I like that. I mean, that's even in the Bible. Don't let the sun set on your anger. I tried to do that with the last person I was with, but like if somebody is not led by the Spirit, they're not going to understand why that is so healthy, why it's important. Because and the older you get, tomorrow is not promised. You may not see that person, and that's like your last interaction or dealing. So I think moving forward, next relationship, standard wise, it has to be somebody who is spirit led, who understands like on a spiritual level why like anger needs to be controlled, why those things are so important. Like an idle mind is a devil's playground. Like all these things that I have like an understanding of, and I try to stay disciplined to combat. I also need somebody who can do the same.
I do agree with that sentiment of not going to bed angry, but I also, as a person who sometimes needs a like cool down moment, if I get to that point, if I ask for space to like, get myself together and it just happens to be like nighttime, I feel like that should be respected, until the next day. Because that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to sleep angry. I just, have to regulate myself to get back to that homeostasis.
I was gonna say, I think that covers it though. Asking for space or just like that understanding. It's like, all right, we don't have a resolution right now. We'll hit it later. I think that kind of covers it too. Versus being like, fuck you, I never want to talk to you. Da da da. I'm gone. Go out and let me not speak that because But sometimes people like they let their anger get the best of them. And in their mind, they're not trying to regulate themselves or like they feel super justified. And it's like, okay, but
yeah. And
It's not solution based either, because I'm usually trying to get to like some sort of resolution to the problem. Because They also say like, we're not fighting each other, let's fight the problem. And that's where I like to stay. I'm like, I actually love you. So I don't want to sit here and bash you and go in on you because we're disagreeing about this one thing. Let's figure out how we can either come to some sort of agreement or understanding so we can either say, hey, this is something that we can't compromise on, or I understand where you're coming from. You understand me, and we can move forward. But the like lull in between, I don't like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of communicating. Like, when I got in my first argument in my last relationship, it was awful. Like, he left the apartment. I called my girlfriends crying, and I was like, "He broke up with me. Can you go to Walmart with me and get me some boxes to pack up my stuff?" And I don't think either of us talked to each other for like 2 or 3 days, but we're living together. So, like, it was just so awkward, you know? Like, I don't like that, like, no man's land of, like, not knowing how you're feeling, not communicating how I'm feeling. So, yes, like, hey, let's
Same.
take a breather. We're not going to get anywhere today. And we did grow in that aspect of our relationship. There were times where we would end the day and we still might be upset, but when it was time to go to bed, the rule was we're always going to bed together. It's you're not sleeping in the extra bedroom, you're not sleeping on the couch. Like, we're still sleeping together. We're still going to cuddle, you know? We're going to put on Game of Thrones and we're just going to talk about this at a later time. I don't ever think we got around to like circling back to the conversation, which would have been the next step, but yeah, baby steps. Yeah.
See, but when that happens to me, I feel like it's someone like blowing over my feelings or like the things I have to say.
What do you mean?
Like when we don't come back to the conversation,
Mm,
because I'm not going to forget. So I'm going to bring it up. And then when I bring it up, I don't want it to be like, oh, here you go. Yeah. I'm like, well, we didn't finish the conversation. There needs to be a pin in it. There's no pin in it. And I'm still
mhm.
thinking about it. It's still on my brain. So yeah, I'm going to have to speak about it till we figure out what the end result is.
Yeah.
So I can't leave on a ellipses. I need a period.
Right. And like my last ex told me, and I now feel like this is a compliment, because I'm a grown ass woman. But he was like, "You're the hardest relationship I've ever been in because I actually have to work." And he was like,
Yeah.
typically, if I argue with somebody else, I would just be like, "Oh, I love you," and we'd kiss and make up, and that was that. And he was like, "With you, we kiss and make up, and you're like, well, back to what I was saying, like." And I was like, correct, because I'm like, do you want a sustainable relationship or no? And I think one of y'all mentioned earlier, like the point to have these hard conversations is to get an understanding so that we can move forward and tackle something else. Like, I'm not saying this just to say it. I don't like arguing either. Literally broke up with 2 people because they like to argue more than I did. Nope. We're not doing that. It's not sustainable. Like, if I can't get
No.
along with somebody for like no more than 2.5 days at a time, I don't want to be with you. I don't care how great of a person you are. I don't care how nicely you treat me. Our mental health needs to be okay. Who wants to argue with the person who's supposed to be your safe space? The person you're supposed to come home to? No, I'm not doing it.
About to be just a yes man for you either. I'm not a pet.
Right.
I'm a partner.
Especially when the shit you be doing be like I said, it's destructive to yourself, to other people. Why would I agree with that? That's not love. Mm-mm.
And I think that's something for me, like how Miranda, you said the next day, it's still on your mind. And like it would still be on my mind too. But I think that goes back to what I said about like not wanting to come off aggressive. And so instead of bringing it back up, I would be like, well, you know, we had a good night. We relaxed, we cuddled, we watched TV. Like, let me just let it go. But to your point, like keeping all of that stuff inside, that doesn't help us progress in the relationship at all. Like things might be good on the surface, but like deep down, if we keep sweeping things under the rug, eventually we're gonna have bed bugs, and that's gonna be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna have rodents. Y'all gonna have hantavirus. Let me stop.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Too soon.
I also feel like this might just be a me thing, but you know how people are always like, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. But I
Mm.
also think it's a part of like the words that you use because words have meaning. So when people get to going off and saying shit, and I'm like, oh, tell me how you really feel, or you bring it up and be like, oh, well, you said this and you called me that. Well, I didn't mean it like that. I was just you meant it because that's what you said. There's other words to say what you just said, and you chose to use that one. So like I'm very big on the word choices that people use when they say things.
And I think that goes
For
back
sure.
to emotional regulation and emotional hell, just maturity in general. If you can't have a conversation with me to calmly express your feelings about the situation or about me without using language that's going to be offensive to me, that's a problem. And that's
Correct.
something that I'm not going to accept. So like
Yeah.
we need to learn how to work past that. And we can learn how to do that together if you're willing, but you're not going to keep saying, well, I didn't mean it that way. No. You need to expand your vocabulary if that's the case. Pull out the fucking Scrabble board. Get on fucking Words with Friends. Do something, nigga. In that encyclopedia, figure out how, read a book. Figure out how to talk to me in a way that makes some fucking sense.
Correct.
So don't like absolutes. I don't like when people are like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Well, I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to do that. Well, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Because you think I'm going to be with you for 50 plus years for the rest of my life, and you talking about you never going to do this, never going to do that. All right, nigga, stay where you at. I had an ex that did that a lot. Anytime he got upset, well, I'm just not gonna ask you questions anymore. Well, I'm just not gonna do this anymore. Like, bruh, shut the fuck up and grow up.
You know, to piggyback off of both of those sentiments, I think, I mean, just, you know how growing up, you're taught, like, think before you speak. It takes a lot of, like, cognitive control to, like, have a conversation, even when you're upset. And, like, it takes practice to, like, think through, like, when you're talking about something and versus just letting your mouth flap. Like, you know what I mean? And, like, that to me is, like, the word choice and, like, oh, well, I didn't mean it like this. Slow down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to just talk just to talk, just to argue or just to keep it going. Like, we can just slow down a little bit, but like, it takes like active brain power to have a conversation and especially to have like an argument or a disagreement. So I'm just like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, if you're at that point where like your brain has stopped and your mouth
Then
is
you
just
need to
moving,
stop.
you need to stop. You need to stop.
That's because they be, I don't want to say they as a men, just people be responding, listening to respond. They don't listen to understand and then have a response. They just want to have a comeback.
Okay, so that kind of goes into what I was going to say. I am like a super slow processor. And especially I don't even want to say necessarily an argument, but when we're having a disagreement and we're having like a serious conversation about something, I'm a person who like, I need time to think about what you said. So it's like, I might not get it all out on day one. This conversation might take place on a Monday. And then like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm like, okay, now can we go back to when you said this and go back to when you said that and then go back to when you said this? Because like you said, I'm not one of those people who's listening to respond. I'm truly listening to understand what it is that you're saying. But I'm like, is that... And then I also like to take notes when I know we're about to have a serious conversation so I can like make sure I don't miss anything because also my memory is trash as fuck. So I'm like, I want to make sure that I address all of the things that is causing concern from your perspective. But I feel like what I've heard is that can come off manipulative.
That you're taking notes?
Yeah.
Or that you're coming back?
Both.
So I can understand that because I'm also a slow processor. I realized that in my last relationship, but it's also because sometimes when you argue with people, they start bringing up irrelevant shit that doesn't have to pertain to like what you're talking about in the moment. That creates chaos, confusion, and you're not on the right path to what you were talking about. That's part of like gaslighting. That's what would really throw me off. So I started to take down notes because I would forget my points of things I was saying. So I was like, oh, let me make sure I have my points of what I do know I need to get out or things I have questions about and not let me get distracted. But the coming back a couple days later, I would say me personally, that would probably bother me. I don't think it's manipulative, but it is kind of just like unnecessary.
And I would always say like, listen, you know, it's going to take me some time to think about everything that you just said. So like I might come back to this at a later date. I'm going to go ahead and address the things that I heard you say right now that I have a response to.
Because trying to say that it's manipulative when you understand that this is how your person processes things, that's manipulation, right?
Yeah.
Especially like you said, gaslighting, like when you're trying to tell somebody it's something that it's not, or like make it seem like what they have to say is not relevant because the quote unquote moment has passed. It's not fair. because, that you're still supposed to be able to talk to somebody about things. And it's probably better to wait, you know what I mean? To address like a lot of hard topics. I feel like I'm just like traumatized because in my first relationship, his brain processed at like rapid speed. And I would be like, oh, that was a lot. So I don't really know. You never have nothing to say. And I'm like, I know I do. Not right now. Like, but
Yeah.
in a couple hours I will. But I'm like, that's a lot to take in. And now, like, it happened in my last relationship where I was like, he was like, I need time to process. Like, because you just said a lot. And he was like, I can't keep up. But I feel like it's now like a trauma response for me. It may not be the best method, like to just be able to process everything and have the response that you want every single time. Because I mean, both people need to have the time and the space to say what they need to say. But yeah, I'm trying. I'm a pro now. I can say everything.
And I think too, I feel like, so I will say in my most recent relationship, he was the type of person who could only focus on the topic for a certain period of time. And because I am definitely a verbal processor, like if you want me to get it out all today, I can get it out. Now we might be here for about 6-7 hours, but I could get it out. But he was like, no. And we got to the point in the relationship where I was like, okay, I can see that you're like at your point. And he even got to the point in the relationship where he was like, okay, been talking about this for an hour and a half now. Can we come back to it at a later time? I'd be like, okay, sure. Now, how do you all feel about in terms of responding to each other in written communication? And not like text, but like I'm writing out a handwritten note.
I mean, that's cool. But me personally, I've talked to my therapist and we've come to the conclusion that it's best for me to communicate with people through voice. So either I need to send people voice messages, talk to them on the phone, talk to them on FaceTime in person, because the things that I say don't come off so great over text. They can't understand the intention or like, because I
The tone.
talk very like straightforward. So if I put what I say down on paper, if the tone is not how I intended when I write it, I have had people write me letters and things like that. Which didn't bother me, but also it's like, okay, you could sit here and write 7 pages worth of a letter, but you couldn't communicate when I was trying to talk to you. That's kind of crazy.
Like,
I'm much better with written communication than I am verbal communication, for sure. Especially in those situations, because it does take me so long to process all of my thoughts. The lyrics.
See, I be having to write stuff down so I can read it and then translate it into words.
That's okay.
And another thing in terms of communication, I will say that too. I feel like I need to get to a place to where I can like feel comfortable openly communicating and also understanding that this quote that I saw, communicating how you feel will never ruin a real connection. Because in the past, I've been so afraid to communicate my actual feelings. And then when I do communicate the feelings, I'm met with like resistance or combativeness. It's almost kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy though. So I'm like, well, this is reaffirming the belief that if I communicate how I feel, then whoever is going to be upset with me. But I have to tell myself, like, if that person, those people are meant to be in my life, then they're going to hear what I have to say and be like, thank you for sharing how you feel. Let's talk through this together instead of running away and self-soothing in inappropriate ways.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. And it helps you actually weed out the people. That's one of the things. That shit happened so quick with that dude I was talking to. I was like, the way you were talking to me is not okay, sir. It's not. And then you keep doing it. Yeah, let's just go ahead and call it a wrap.
Yeah.
And if I feel like I gotta like censor myself, I just think like now at the age that I'm at, anytime I talk to someone or have a conversation with them, I just think, is that how I want my husband to treat me? No. And I don't have time to sit here and teach you how to treat me.
Yeah. I had this one guy one time who was interested in me. We were all hanging out. He was severely intoxicated. But I told my friends when we left that night, I said, nope, and no. That's a red flag. Not going there. Because
I think he told us this.
did I? I might have. I don't know if I
Keep
shared
going.
with our lovers and friends, but it was a group of 6 of us. And me and one of my really good guy friends were having a conversation on the couch while the other 4 people were talking about something different. So then I heard them say something. I was like, wait a minute, what did y'all just say? And the guy who was interested in me, who said, that's why you should shut the fuck up when people are talking, trying to plan something.
I do remember this.
So when I was leaving, he was like, walk me out to my car. He's like, are you okay? Like, you seem off. Again, very drunk. We had all been drinking that day, probably since like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So the next day, when we talked, I was like, let me tell you something. You will never, and when I say never, I mean never, fix your mouth to say some shit to me like that ever again. And he was like, wait, what did I say? And I told him, and he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I did not mean it, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's no excuse. I'm sorry. No, there's not. After then, he never, he never tried to like get chippy with me ever again. But it's like, if they, granted, regardless, it was still a red flag that I should have paid attention to. But the fact that he never did it again, I was like, okay.
I mean, sometimes
That's
people
it.
can have red flags in like different areas,
Mm-hmm.
of like their character. And just because like, okay, well, this one, I didn't hear that specific language, but I saw something else over here. So it can be like, especially for women trying to figure it out, it can be a mind fuck. Like just trying to figure out a person and like see their limits and their character. So, I don't necessarily think you did anything wrong, but because like you spoke up, you said what you needed to say. It didn't happen again. And like, I don't think you did anything wrong by like, you know what I mean? You don't like beat yourself up for being like, oh shit, I should have saw other things. I mean, because it's tricky.
I'm just surprised you went on with the night because the mood would have been ruined after that.
Oh.
Because I'm going to be sobered the fuck up after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That should
And
just be shocking too, though. Like, it's just like, what the fuck just happened?
what the fuck just happened? And my friend sitting next to me, he grabbed my hand and he was like, it's okay. Calm down. Calm down. Because he already knew. I was.
He would have had to
hot.
leave me out the room, child.
Yeah, it's gonna get aired out.
Yeah, I was hot. So, yeah.
No.
But I think that's the thing, though. Like, I feel like communication, not even just your words, it can also show up in like your actions. It can show up in your patterns. It can show up in several other ways, or maybe not your communication, but like your character. And it's all indicators of like the type of person that you are.
Yeah, because have you ever had somebody get an attitude with you and start acting brand new? So you mad you don't want to open my door no more? You mad you don't want to take the trash out no more? Oh, okay. Oh, you heated your food up and left my shit on the counter. All right. Yeah, them the actions she talking about. That's a red flag.
I'm sorry. That to me, that type of childish ass behavior, that to me would be like, especially now, that's immediate grounds for never speak to me again. Because I mean, y'all know the ins and outs of my relationships, but I feel, at least, like I said, they had other red flags, but in that area, like I didn't have to worry about not being fed or like my door not being opened. Like even if they like, oh, come on, like, you know what I mean? Like they never just like left me hanging. And I don't do that either. Like I remember one time I was in undergrad and this girl who was my friend at the time, she was like, yeah, you seem like the type like you would send your husband out for work and not pack his lunch. I said, who? I said, you don't know me. I said, I'll pack your lunch with an attitude, but I'm still going to do it because send my man out the house hungry so that somebody else can come in and be like, oh, that's how you open the door. Like for other things that don't need to come in. So like, again, with that like emotional intelligence, like you have to be able to still like perform certain duties while you're angry or while you're upset and still take care of your person because that's your person. I wish a nigga would be like, oh, you can open your own door. Who?
For the ending of my most recent relationship, engagement, whatever, communication, when you boil it down to like the nuts and bolts of it, was the issue because I expressed that I wasn't in a place where I thought we were ready to get married. He heard that we were done. And so that's what led to the cheating. Instead of him communicating like, hey, the way you're saying this makes me feel like you're ending our relationship. Is that what you're saying? Or like, why do you feel like we're not in a place to get married? Like what things are happening that is giving you pause? Like it wasn't something that we talked through.
Correct. Because I feel like my next question in like a relationship will be like, how do you handle what you think is rejection? How do you handle when you don't because I'm like, part of me feels like some men are just so like slow to where they're just like, okay, they actually feel, I mean, almost like how you mentioned earlier, like that no man's land, like when you don't know. Cause I'm the same way. Like I get really scared when like I don't know where a relationship is going and I know that I want it to go somewhere. And like I tend to like over communicate and want to extra talk about things and blah 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 blah. I mean, I guess I can try to understand like a man being like, oh, I panicked. However, are you really panicking, or are you choosing to have this as an opportunity to do what you want to do?
How do you handle what you think is rejection? I like that a lot. And I also like the question of like, what is your communication style, but what is your communication style when you're in conflict? Because I think there could be two different things present. Like I think someone's
Yeah.
natural communication style could be passive or passive aggressive or just aggressive. And then in conflict, it'd be some other mix of things. So it's like, are you self-aware enough to know how you communicate? And also like, if your conflict resolution is aggressive, do you have any follow-up statements like, but I'm in therapy, or but I've grown so much, or but I'm working on it, or, that looks like X, like, can you give me some more details, or you just haven't even thought about it? And like, I think for me moving forward, that will be like, if you can't answer those types of questions, it's a no-go.
And I feel like just being aware of something doesn't give you no fucking brownie points. Saying like, oh, I know I do this when I get upset. Okay, so when you do it, you just keep doing the shit. You ain't doing nothing to change it or do better. You're just like, hey, just so you know, when I get upset, I just start saying crazy shit that I know I shouldn't say. So you know that. So you're choosing to continue doing that, basically.
And was it Albert Einstein who was like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results? Something like that. Self-awareness is the bare
Only takes you
minimum.
so far.
Yeah, that
Literally.
doesn't make you special. What are we doing about the self-awareness that we have?
To follow up what you've been saying, because I've always thought this was an interesting concept. Most answers I get from men are, if a man proposes to a woman and she says no, they believe the relationship's over at that point. As a woman, I could see myself saying no to someone because it's not the right time, or we still have certain fundamental things we need to continue to grow before we can get to that point. But I don't see myself telling someone yes, knowing we still have those fundamental things we can work on. Like, I could see saying yes and being like, "Oh, there's a couple things, but they're not that big. We can, like, figure it out until we get actually married." But, like, if there are big things that I feel like need to be fixed or worked on to where I'm still in the relationship with you, we ain't broke up yet, but we gotta fix this before we get married, yeah, I might tell you no. But I also feel like when niggas put themselves in that position to ask someone to get married with the possibility of saying no, you already knew you guys had those issues. And I feel like they do that shit to kind of like gloss over whatever they're going through and to be like, look, I asked you to marry me. I'm showing you I want this. That doesn't fix the problem. So if I say no, I just feel like if I say no, I don't want to be with you, okay, the relationship's over. But if I say no, we still got some things to work on. I could work on the relationship after that. But I feel like niggas' egos be hit after you say no and they can't get over it. But it's like you knew we had issues, so I don't know why you even planning all this big shit out.
I have no idea. I'm sorry. I feel like I have zero like engagement knowledge and like marriage knowledge. Like I have no idea.
But I feel like if someone proposed to you and you said no, would you think that's the end of the relationship?
I don't know. Like I would hope that we would have addressed all that before he went out and bought a ring and proposed. So if I'm saying no at that point, then probably not.
I heard this chick say something similar, and she said yes because she wasn't ready to be out of the relationship, but she knew that she wasn't going to marry him. And I was like, wait, what?
See,
Girl,
Yeah, that ain't so fair.
that's doing the fucking most. But I agree with you. I don't think it would be an issue if I were to say no and us continue to work on building things in the relationship. But I think what you're saying in terms of a man and his ego goes back to what Kayla says. How do you handle what you think is rejection? Because in that moment, you think that I'm rejecting you. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we're not ready for that yet. And when you propose, I want us to both be 100% ready for that next step. That doesn't mean I want us to 100% make sure that we're right for each other. I'm here, so obviously I want to be here. You're here, so obviously you want to be here. But like, we still have things we need to work on. In my situation, I told him I had no aspirations to get married whatsoever. I was like, I'm so fine being like common law husband and wife, and like us just living life together for forever. We don't have to get married. And I don't know at what point that changed for him, but I think when he initially proposed, I wasn't having thoughts about like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work, or like, oh, we have all these other things to think about. But after he proposed and after I said yes, that's when I started really thinking like, oh shit, marriage, like this is bigger than just us being together for the rest of our lives. Like marriage is like a big ass fucking commitment. And like there are things that if we're going to do marriage, yeah, there's a whole other gamut of things that we need to make sure we're aligned on before we do that. Because I look at marriage like it's a big deal. If I ever do get married, I only want to do it one time. He had already been married and divorced. So it's like, that's not what I want for my future. So like, if we're going to do it, we got to make sure that like we're doing it.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
Like when you said yes, you had every intention of like, y'all getting married and things like that.
Totally.
And then you pointed out like, hey, I don't think we're ready to get married now because we have some things to work on, but I still have the intentions of marrying you in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see myself telling a nigga yes when I don't see that in the future. Like I've only discussed rings with one person, but even discussing the rings, I just didn't think like the nigga was gonna propose to me within like a couple months. I knew it was we still had some groundwork to do, and I think I made that pretty clear to him. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like when people, now that I'm older, I feel like the person I'm with is going to know, like, we'll have conversations like, yeah, our intentions are to get married. Like, yeah, that's like the next step for us. We've gone through this, we've gone through that. I feel like it's kind of a mutual thing. So when people say no, I always think it's the nigga is like trying to cover up something. Like, oh, we've been into it real bad. Let me just go ahead and propose to her so we can focus on getting married and not focus on whatever we just got into it about.
Putting a Band-Aid on a gun wound. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're pregnant, so we need to
Right.
get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes. God forbid.
The lover girl lesson for the week is communication isn't just words, it's actions, patterns, and consistency. So hold on to that, lovers and friends. Let's get into this reality check-in because the tea is literally all over the place. But first, we need to take it back to the haunted virus because I just started seeing that shit on TikTok, and I'm not trying to go into another pandemic. I'm really not. I'm pandemic the fuck out.
Honestly, like outside of people dying, obviously, I loved pandemic time. I just feel like it was such a simpler way of life. People were paying attention to the shit that they really needed to pay attention to, which wasn't all the distractions of our everyday lives. Like, because right now we have a lot of shit happening in the country, and like our basic freedoms and liberties are really being tested. And I don't know if people are paying attention the way they need to be paying attention. And so when I think back to coronavirus, like it made people stop and wake the fuck up. So if this is what it takes, again, minus millions of people losing their lives, I'm here for it.
I guess it's just more so the effects of the pandemic that I'm like really not trying to go back to as far as people's well-being, not being able to get food, supplies, go to work, things like that. Like, there's only so much I can take. And with this fucking orangutan in the office doing the shit that he's doing, like another virus on top of COVID, because COVID's still going around. I just don't have the time.
On top of being in the middle of a war, on top of us not potentially having any oil by the end of the month. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
In other news, I did see that Stefan Diggs won that trial against this chef. Now, he may have won this trial, but I still think he yoked her ass up.
He seems very emotionally immature, and he seems like the type of man who throws tantrums and probably puts his hands on women when he's upset or doesn't get his way.
And then if we add a little bit more melanin, then you can get Tyreek Hill. He has a case from something that happened back in 2023 where he was talking to this white lady that's like a IG model. So he was throwing a camp for kids, and she had signed her son up for the camp. So this nigga starts DMing her. He's like, "You're not 6'1", just to like get her to like start talking to him. But apparently he has a tall woman fetish. So he invites this girl out to his house. He has like a trainer come and train him in his backyard or whatever. And so they start doing drills with each other. So they do the first drill and she's on defense. So I guess because he couldn't make it through the drill, he got upset and wanted to switch the roles. He was like, actually, you run the ball and I'll stop you. So the first time they do it, dog runs out, so they had to stop. The second time they do it, she gets through. The third time they do it, this nigga basically flat out tackles her. And she's complaining about her leg hurting. He's like, oh, it's okay. You just wrap it up. You'll be all right. She gets back home, goes to the doctor. Her leg is broke. So now she's suing him for money, saying that he intentionally tried to hurt her ass because she got upset that she was upstaging him during this fucking drill. And I'm like, yeah, have you not seen all the other headlines of this nigga doing crazy ass shit? So why would you go and play football with someone who's a known abusive ass football player?
Well, I think a lot of women end up in dangerous situations by thinking that they're the exception.
Oh, hello.
I mean, I feel like we all have done it. A lot of women still do it, but I don't want to say it's like a hard pill to swallow. But like it's okay to not like want to be the person. Well, for me, this is like one thing that I've grasped for myself. Like it's okay to not have to or want to be the woman in a man's life that makes him change, especially if he was so horrible to all these other women. You don't have to be that person. Like you don't need to. Like you can just link up with somebody who's already sweet and who's already not going to feel small because you're smarter than him, or like, I mean, I'm definitely not nobody's height because I'm short, but like, you know what I mean? Just it's like little things like that. But like, it still sucks for her because she got her leg broken. But like, yeah, it's like a lot of, you just got to accept that like you may not be the exception for a nigga. And it's probably best that you steer clear because you probably won't be.
None of us are the exception. None of us. If any man who feels like a project is, and just leave it there. Because we did arts and crafts up until maybe 9th grade. And beyond that, there's no point in wasting our time. Because it's also like we're trying to stroke our own egos if we think that we are the exception.
Look at me. I'm the one who changed him. Girl, you're not that great. We're all doing our best out here.
I just don't like when niggas just act surprised. Like, this nigga done broke 4 people's arms, and now you confused why you got with him. Now your arm broke. I don't understand that logic.
Ego. You got to learn, though.
Yeah.
You got to have an ego death.
That's real.
In other sports news, I did want to bring up, because we talked about this on another episode, about Rakia Jackson and her football player boyfriend. They dropped the charges or dismissed the charges against him and said if he went to therapy and stayed out of trouble for 6 months, then, the charges could get dropped and he could get out of jail, which I think is actually quite insane that she agreed to that.
Wow.
Yeah, that makes me wonder, like, what is the motive for doing that? But also, I feel like this kind of goes back to something Kayla might have mentioned when we were talking about Cardi and Offset. Or maybe even when we were talking about Megan Clay. Just for Black women in general, we go above and beyond to try to protect men, and especially Black men that we've been in relationship with. Because I think if we really want to get technical, I feel like it goes all the way back to like slavery and men and women and families being torn apart. So like now in this day and age, we're still carrying that generational trauma that we didn't directly experience, but we feel this pressure to protect them, because if we don't protect them, who will? But at the end of the day, unfortunately, Black men are not protecting us. Once a Black man puts your physical person in harm's way, all bets are off. He doesn't deserve your protection. This nigga tried to run you over in his car in front of the police station. And luckily it was in front of the police station because you had enough wherewithal to get away from him and drive to the police station as he was chasing you in his vehicle. We're not looking out for the nigga who literally tried to end your life.
Can they not go to therapy in jail? Don't they have therapy in jail?
But also,
so if he's in jail for 6 months, he won't get in trouble, and he can go to therapy.
And if he can't,
go to chapel.
Hello. Come on now. We ain't been to the pulpit in a minute, but we can go. So yeah, even if he doesn't have access,
like to come out Muslim too. So
right. Even if he doesn't have access to therapy in jail, he's not your concern anymore. The day that he tried to kill you is the day that he lost all rights for you to be concerned about him and his well-being. I mean, love that you're trying to take the higher road, but just like we said last week, as it pertains to that, when they go low, we go high. Fuck that. That is not a one size fits all.
Let niggas get
Hell
their
no.
consequences. It's so hard to like get through to people. Because I looked up her age. She's 25, so she's not super young, but like young enough to where she probably is still trying to like, she's probably still in limbo of like, oh, like you said, like trying to protect a man and stuff like that. But it's like once you're out of that shit, it's like, damn, what can we say to get through to younger women? You know what I mean? It's like, because, you know, men will try to paint the picture of like, oh, if you say something like this, oh, well, they're bitter and da 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 da. It's like, no, her life was actually in danger. So, and clearly for generations now, y'all have not been trusted to be able to protect us. Y'all don't do it at all. So we have to try to look out for each other as best as we can. And that doesn't make anybody bitter. No, that nigga needs to be in jail. He does not need to speak to her ever again. I don't care like what his rehabilitation looks like. It's okay if you are rehabilitated for somebody else. Do that. But as far as her, like she doesn't have to, I mean, unless she just wants to. She doesn't have to like let him back in her life, but also even if she did let him back in her life, like let him get the consequences first, the full scope of it, not just like
Yeah.
a slap on the wrist.
What was gonna happen if he didn't get away? He did
Right.
that shit in front of the police. A lot of people don't make it to the car. You
It's
made
a
it to the
dangerous
car.
nigga.
You
Yeah.
be here to give him grace if he had accomplished what he set out to do that day.
Mhm. Right.
So, yeah, granted, we've all been there, and it may not be in a situation like this dramatic, but we have
Mm-hmm.
all done something where we protected niggas when we shouldn't have.
Right.
But the buck needs to stop here. It stops when a nigga literally tries to kill you.
Listen,
And I
when you come
know
to ULG, just know we not protecting nobody anymore.
Man or female.
None. Get your consequences. It is what it is. Shit. Like, go ahead.
exactly.
Hello.
And that's the thing for baby, have you been in therapy? You know what I'm saying? Because if you were, I think your therapist would tell you this is not your place to continue protecting him. You all are not in a relationship anymore. You owe this man nothing. He literally tried to take your life.
And we
So
don't know that he may not try to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
so what type of trauma is buried in you to where you feel like this is the appropriate response? Because it's something. And we all have it. But like, yeah, you need to let that nigga get what is coming to him. Even if he doesn't try to do it again with you, because he hasn't had to face the full extent of what his consequences should be, he's gonna do it to somebody else. This nigga isn't gonna go to therapy for
Right.
6 months and then come out like fucking Creflo Dollar. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is going to play the system to get through those 6 months of therapy, and then he's gonna come out and be right back on that same fuck shit.
And it's like, how shitty would it be, God forbid, if like he actually does end up killing another woman because you didn't allow God to handle him the way that he needed to? I would feel really bad. Like, and I'm not saying that all that's gonna be on her. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But like I mean, when people get away with certain things, they get more confident each time. Like they get more confident in the fact that they will not face the appropriate consequences, or that they will, you know, be forgiven and reacclimated back into society as if nothing happened, and like only God can judge me. Like the shit that people like to hide behind. So it's just like, damn, like you said, the book has to stop somewhere.
I did want to just do a little shout out because Isaiah Rashad is coming back into society. I want to say about 5 years ago, his phone got hacked and a video of him performing oral on another man was shared on Twitter. So he was outed. And he basically just like disappeared. Apparently he was on like a bunch of drugs, and that whole situation kind of forced him to like get his shit together. He was doing an interview with Charlemagne, well, the Breakfast Club, and he was just, explaining like where his mental state was at the time and how all of that affected him and things like that. And I just admire people when they accept themselves, like for all that they are and can be unapologetically themselves. Because I really don't even think the like bisexual of it all really bothered him that much. He was saying it was more so that he put himself in the position to have that happen to him because he wasn't in the right state of mind. And then, yeah, just the Met Gala of it all. I wasn't really a big fan of this year's theme of like art artist teaching his art, something like that. Wasn't really wowed by a lot of people. I do think it was really cool that Blue Ivy got to go. She's very iconic. I live for Black nepotism. There was a lot of controversy about um Jeff Bezos and some other like tech people being like sponsors for this year, which I had no clue about until everybody was posting about it.
I just want to say, if you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you better
Jalen,
wake
please.
up and pay attention. That's all I got to say.
I am fucking crying.
Work the system, Mary Clarence. Okay.
So y'all, please practice your communication skills. Work them out. Talk to your people. And I hope y'all have a good rest of this week. We're going to put y'all on D&D. Until next time. Bye.